Alrighty, yo, what is going on, everybody? It's your boy, Mr. DDG94 here, back with another reaction video. Today, we finna react to wrestling humiliation rituals. Yeah. This is my wrestling premiere. Without further ado, let's get right into it.
Jim Ross was the voice of WWE on and off for nearly 20 years. Fans took a liking towards his more personable commentary. Personally, I liked JR because he fit the wackiness of professional wrestling. He's what you would imagine.
JR is one of the best, not even the best, he is the best. He is the Michael Jordan, Michael Jackson. He's the GOAT of wrestling commentary. Now, Jerry, on the other hand, I ain't gonna lie. Jerry was ass, bro. I ain't gonna even hold you, bro. I'm not going to even hold you, bro. Jerry was a terrible. He got better over time when they finally stopped him being a fucking freakazoid, even though we know that nigga got a weird case. Why is he around?
Certified lover boy, certified pedophiles.
But still though, once he stopped being so freaked out or whatever, and he just started just doing commentary, he actually got better. I wouldn't say it was the best, but it was okay. But like I said it before, I'll say it again. Cole and Taz were the best duo WWE ever had on commentary, hands down. Cole and Taz on SmackDown was the best commentary duo. I know a lot of people gonna say, "No, nigga, D's the best right here." Nah, JR held it down on his own, bruh. Jerry was just there for the ride, dog, for real. But anyways, though, without further ado, let's get right into it.
A wrestling commentator to be, but to the WWE, he wasn't in that role because he was super loved. It's because there just wasn't anybody better, and they tried many times to replace him, but it didn't work. With JR, he was often placed in storylines and made to be the butt of joke. Literally at one point. There was a storyline where he held resentment over the WWF not allowing him to commentate due to Bell's palsy, and it was terrible all around. But his real humiliating moments just kept on coming in the 2000s. He was forced to join the Kiss My Ass Club, and I know I'm talking about JR right now, but the Kiss My Ass Club is one of the stupidest things I've ever seen in wrestling. The $1 billion boss books storylines where he pulls his pants down and somebody kisses it. And JR's was way worse than Regal because they shoved him so far up McMahon's rectum, he knew everything about him. Did I forget to mention that this was in his hometown? Absurd stuff, to be clear.
That's
clear
great.
as day, this stuff is insane. Then later on, JR was storyline fired. In reality, WWE was ready to bring in Mike Goldberg from UFC. Mike Goldberg at the WWE is the weirdest thing ever, but it was gonna happen. JR was treated like a joke for some McMahon story that had already been done in the past plenty of times. And they were also planning to have Stone Cold lose his return match to the Coach. WWE really is a heel company in the sense that they're so obsessed having the villain go over even at the detriment of their own shows. JR was subjected to jokes and insults throughout the weeks, including a segment where Vince was playing doctor working on Jim Ross. The operation involved a fake ass that was bigger than McMahon's ego. JR was at home recovering from a real surgery, but his boss was busy making a roleplay version of the operation. The embarrassment seemed to calm down for JR, but they were never out of the picture. A couple of years later, he's involved in this Michael Cole and Jerry Lawler feud, a feud that sucked, but before WrestleMania, it was way better. Once WWE had Cole win at the show of shows, the story went down to hell. Cole had an ego the size of Texas, and in the process, he of course insulted JR and even made him kiss his foot. Dastardly stuff going down in the WWE. JR of course got his comeuppance, but tell me why the boss himself a year later was randomly making fun of him on live TV. Of course, JR is a professional and he's not gonna jump up and say some not so PR things on these matters, but it's clear that Vince had a weird relationship with him. You hear that he's JR's biggest supporter, and the next moment he's drilling a mock-up ass of his on TV. That's just how it is in the corporate world. Mark Henry was the big show before the big show. When he signed a 10-year deal in 1996, WWF believed that Henry had the makings not of a varsity athlete, but of a superstar. Then it was clear that Henry wasn't progressing and was pretty bad in ring. So they started messing with him. There was a blackface thing, but the most notable story that was booked to embarrass Henry was the China one. Now, in late 1998, Mark Henry found himself over the moon for China. He was always lost and directionless when he saw her. He eventually got a date with her, but it didn't work out, leading to her bringing in her friend Sammy. Henry goes on this date, and you have to remember, this was the beginning of the sexual chocolate character. He gets some business done and he gets a sense of something, leading to him realizing that Sammy is trans. He wants to die, he's sad, he's horrified, and this happened with his mother at the show. Now, this is a moment I often forget about because the Attitude Era had so much. This is not mentioned as often, and obviously WWE is going to run away from something like this. When you look at the whole scenario, it's like they really wanted to sabotage Henry's mindset and get him to quit. They were doing all of this, and even though it's a storyline, they had his mom involved, which is bizarre to me. You guys know wrestling's a crazy business. There's a lot of crazy stuff that goes down. Henry becomes sexual chocolate, he's doing decently for himself, but then a problem occurs. He admits that he's a sex addict. Okay, Tiger Woods. He confessed all kinds of strange lore. Let's just put it simply down to the word relations. He said he did it with his sister. He showed often how much of an addict he was. This involved the therapists, this involved the Godfather's hoes, all kinds of things. And then got with Mae Young, and that leads to the hand thing. It was all horrific and clearly a way of getting him to quit. Henry has admitted this himself, that WWE wanted to do everything to get him to quit, but he still persisted. They booted him to OVW after this, and they're like, you know what, get your ass in shape. The biggest example of a humiliation ritual in this video, and the whole entire reason I made this video, is the Big Show. This guy's career is a humiliation ritual, and it all comes down to how well versed the Big Show is. He can talk, can wrestle, and is terrifying at times because these humiliation moments really take the scary element away from it. His debut is a joke. He enters from under the ring, destroys Austin, but throws him too hard into the cage to help him win. And thus, this marked the start of an often clumsy, and I'm not saying that word lightly, an embarrassing career for the Giant. He went through stop and start pushes, lost to Stone Cold in one of his first matches when it should have been the SummerSlam main event logically, but this is nothing. You know, this is nothing. They had him in a story where his dad died and the big boss man just decided to be mean about it. Big Show's crying about his daddy. Well, how would he feel if I said that the Big Show's daddy's in hell? Then they dragged his dad's casket away from the funeral. Regardless of that, I don't care. This is a top 5 Big Show moment ever. It might be a joke as in itself, you know, a clown show all around, but it's so distinctive in what I think professional wrestling at its core is. Following this, The Rock buried his haircut. He main evented WrestleMania, but a month later started doing gimmick infringement and copying all kinds of wrestlers, and it was clear that when he was in this position, that it was the beginning of the end. The underrated aspect of the humiliation for Big Show is that often he didn't have time to develop his heel or face run because they would quickly switch him. There's many moments where he looked weak or strong, but what about the actual humiliation? They had this guy eat some burritos and obliterate them so hard that the bathroom had to pay the price. It was slapstick stuff, but I'm laughing because they shot this stuff and actually aired on TV. It's ridiculous. The following week, Eddie sprayed him with manure. Oh, and what about the time Kurt Angle shot him with a tranquilizer dart and shaved his head? And
dog, that's the most memorable SmackDown of all time, bro. When he shot up with that damn tranquilizer, bro. I was like, wait a minute. I was like, wait a minute. They doing this on television? I was so perplexed. I was like, he shot him? Damn, I never thought that was going to happen in WWE, but shit, I guess anything can happen in WWE.
Embarrassment all around, although the bald look did suit Big Show at the time. The sumo match at WrestleMania 21 with his ass cheeks out was an embarrassment. Man. Sadly, this wasn't the last time you or me saw them. Even during his most serious run as a heel, we saw his ass cheeks. Unforgiven 2006 in Toronto, his bloody ass was connected with the face of Mr. McMahon. It was an insane sight, and I don't say that in a good way. When Big Show returned in 2008, he was actually treated like a serious threat, so it took a pretty long time until we saw him becoming the butt of the joke. There was that Vicky Guerrero affair, but it's nothing, it's silly. Man. And for some reason, they just kept on making him cry. And what about the time John Laurinaitis reduced him to tears before firing him? It was horrible. This Giant's down on his knees, a former world champion at that. I'm certain that half of the world champions would throw said writer that mentions all of this stuff, except Vince of course, into the garbage. Big Show was so cooked that he saved Laurinaitis and in turn received an ironclad contract. It's important to mention that ironclad contract because a year later, the Authority wanted to fire him and claimed he was broke, and the crying was back on the menu. You're gonna do the soap opera drama, and I know wrestling's a soap opera, but they always bring the worst parts of soap operas with the Big Show. Embarrassment, humiliation, everything. I'm losing.
This is why I never liked the Big Show. It's really just a character thing. It's like, bruh, your character is ass. You 7 feet tall, 500 pounds. You should be at least a 6'7" time. God damn it. 6'7". She said it. Fuck you. He should at least be a 7-time world champion, bruh. At the most, bruh.
My train of thought as it relates to this. But if Big Show is so broke, what the hell did he spend all his money on? A multi-time world champion too. I've had enough of piling on the Big Show, but because he was a very consummate professional, he was obviously going to go through some terrible stories. And yes, this is of course considered acting, but there's nothing notable about getting pantsed and having your boss's face in your ass. How's that acting? That's just freaking jokes and humiliation rituals. For both. I don't even know why Vince did that. Well, it was for the comeuppance from the Shawn Michaels incident a couple of months ago. Now, the Attitude Era has had its fair share of humiliation, but there's always a moment that's mentioned strongly with others. Trish Stratus and Vince McMahon's storyline relationship. With Vince, he always presented himself as the big bad boss, a tyrant for the most part and somebody for the talent to topple. His relationship with Trish was built in spite and desire. But the spite part is very important to mention. There's a feud with Stephanie McMahon and Vince had a problem with it. Instead of Trish understanding that this situation was over, the story saw her beg for forgiveness. Now, of course, the Vince character isn't going to let her go so easily. He made her get on her knees and bark like a dog, that made her strip in the middle of the ring, and when the fans heard that, they thought, titties! And this is a fundamental problem with this segment. It went over the fans' head because they got to see her have the idea of boobs teased, but all in all, this—
I mean, it's Trish Stratus, bro. What you want us to? What? How you want niggas to feel? It's Trish Stratus, nigga.
Let me suck your titties, baby.
No. I'm just saying though, it's Trish Stratus, my guy.
Who them titties need to be sucked on?
I'm just saying.
This is one of the most humiliating stories or segments I've ever seen. Even back then, it was somewhat controversial. Like, you read back to it, some people had an issue with it. I know, product of his—
It's a fucked up segment, but still though.
Let me suck your titties, baby.
Time, but it doesn't reflect well when you notice that it's the boss of the company doing this. I think a part of the criticism of the story is because Vince is the driving force behind it in both ways. From the booking to his—
I think this should be the thumbnail. You a freaky ass nigga. You freaky frog. You freaky frog. You a freaky frog. You fucking freaky frog. You a freaky frog.
You's a freaky ass nigga.
actual self. Plus, we've seen some stories since then that kind of correlate to this. On the other side, this did have a purpose behind it. Vince was super violent that built to WrestleMania, and Shane McMahon was focused on nothing but stopping him for the honor of his mother. And yes, Vince did get his comeuppance. Now, when I booked this story, no. In that era, they were always pushing the limit. It's just when I see the crowd, they didn't react the way they should have, and that alone proves that this segment failed. Chris Kanyon was a decent rising star in WCW. His goal was to always stand out and it would show with his characters and matches. When he went to the WWF in 2001, he was in for a rude awakening. Now, Kanyon at the time wasn't really happy in life anyways, but he was finally called up for a segment on the February 13th, 2003 episode of SmackDown. This was during the Undertaker and Big Show's feud. He was called up for a segment which was clearly inspired from Boy George. He comes out of the closet and sings, "Do you really want to hurt me?" And this is edited in broadcasts. He attacks, Undertaker retaliates and destroys him. He destroyed him with this chair shot to the head. The image doesn't show because it's moving too fast. And I'm not gonna shill for Undertaker, but I've personally seen countless chair shots during this time period, and he always swung hard. Go see the Maven and Mr. Kennedy once. I can acknowledge that the WWE did this as a joke clearly, but I don't think Undertaker was the mercenary. I don't know, but regardless, this was a humiliating story for Kanyon and one that he hoped would see a follow-up with some TV time, but that wasn't the case. I've come to the conclusion that I can't really say anything without a shadow of a doubt. Like, you can say WWE's out to get him and all that, but I had to research this again before uploading this video. The reason why I'm saying this is because James Mitchell has come out and said that Kanyon was in over his head a lot. Basically, to put it simply, he's not a reliable narrator. The reason why I say this is because, you know, I hear the common story, you know, WWE's out to get him. They probably were, but I can't say that without a shadow of a doubt. So I just wanted to add that here. It could have been a rib. We don't really know. There's no substantial evidence. At the end of the day, this whole thing is a bit of a humiliation ritual. We can look at it as such, especially with how things turned out, because Kanyon was like,
I mean, he probably got a good financial probably got a good financial payday because of it. You never know. He probably did that for a payday. You know, back then you had to actually be on the show to get paid sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Like, Vince didn't play around. Like, you would get paid, Yeah, to be in catering and stuff like that, just in case they need you to come out for a segment that they just thought of on the fly. But at the same time, if you get you some TV time, shit, good payday, shit, you probably eating good lobster and everything. After this segment, we don't know. He probably did it for the paycheck. Shit. You're not on television. You barely on television. You probably a Sunday night heat person or velocity person. You know what I'm saying? You working dark matches for SmackDown and Raw. So shit. Get in where you fit in, cuz. Get you some TV time, some actual TV time on the actual show. Shit.
We're gonna go on TV and all that, but nothing happened to note afterwards. Now, like Big Show, Matt Hardy did experience a career of humiliation. Rather, this is for a singular story. The Edge one. When Matt Hardy was brought back to kickstart the Edge storyline, it was met with plenty of optimism and excitement, especially because Hardy had a lot of hype on the indies. If you're like, why the hell's Matt Hardy hyped? The thing with Matt Hardy is that while he's not particularly amazing at one thing, he's well versed all around, with perhaps his greatest skill being his ability to promote himself. So in some ways, you could say the one amazing thing about Matt Hardy is his promoting skills. So obviously people are going to be hyped about him when he goes to ROH and all these promotions. He comes back and bombs in his first promo. He's like, Amy and Adam, I want to feel bad if they died in a car crash. Amy and Adam, it's your fault that Jeff Hardy's always been more over than me. And the one thing I really hate about this feud is that while Hardy was in the right, he felt whiny like an emo teenager. There was that aspect of a revenge, but when it came to conveying that message, I was on Edge's side. When you look at this storyline in hindsight, I'm on Edge's side. He owned Matt in the promos, and this guy was practically Hitler to me as a kid. Like, kid me would legitimately slap me for saying I'm on Edge's side in any way, shape, or form.
Man, hell no. I was Team Matt Hardy, bro. Get your get back, bro. Don't let them do you dirty like that. Get your get back, bro. We was Team Matt Hardy over here, bro.
Fight back, man! Fight back, nigga! Fight back!
But the storyline was a humiliation ritual. Hardy got treated like a clown to get his job back. This involved getting demolished at SummerSlam and losing via ref stoppage to Edge of all people. Edge isn't exactly a vicious guy, especially 2005 WWE. He did win the cage match, but when it came to the finale, he got cucked with Lita holding him away from the Money in the Bank, which symbolically shows that, Hardy just isn't as good as Edge when it comes to the main event push and with Lita. He was forced to watch his friend turn enemy win in life in real time. But again, Edge was viewed as the bigger star by WWE. He's been raised by them as if he was their kid. Not to say that Matt wasn't homegrown, but there was a soft spot for Edge that Matt couldn't relate to. His brother, though, could. They weren't going to do all of that to Jeff Hardy. Then when he went to SmackDown, he thought he was a top star, a big boy. But then they told him to take the tombstone at Survivor Series. He avoided it only to get punished with a severe beating at Armageddon by JBL. Life was rough for Matt during that time because it felt like he was going to reach and pull a brass ring. But not only did he fail, but then WWE proceeded to soil his eyes with dirt. What's ironic is that while Hardy did pay the price for the storyline, it wasn't like Lita ran off scot-free. Lita up to 2006 was one of the most popular women's wrestlers in WWE history.
She got everything she deserved. That's all of us say. She got everything she deserved. She deserved it. I don't care what anybody say. She deserved the humiliation that came her way. You don't do that to nobody. Hell no. Hell no. You out here cheating on your boyfriend with his best friend, and you playing in his face and shit. Man, hell no. That was warranted. You deserve that.
She had an allure about her that stood out. Her alternative vibe, coupled with her caution to the wind mindset, greatly inspired by the Hardys. But by 2005, she was Edge's manager and girlfriend, so naturally, it was a huge change. The tides were turning in the WWE, and she figured that it was time to go away. Not to preface this by saying that Lita was portrayed, and I'm gonna say it blunt, they portrayed her as a hoe. This is literally what they were throwing at you every week on Raw. It's not like I'm giving a new observation. It's clear as day. John Cena was constantly throwing something crazier about her. Big Show used her for a good time. Edge offered her to Vince for an advantage in a title match, which is the most Edge thing I've ever heard. Like, this guy would sell his own mom. But then again, this is an ironic touch, seeing as we've seen some stuff relating to Vince later on in almost the same scenario. And of course, there was a moment with Triple H. You guys think Triple H is gonna keep his mouth shut for an opportunity to throw an insult? But anyways, she was ending her career, and Survivor Series 2006 in Philadelphia was the home to her retirement match.
And Crime Time
stole
came
her
out.
possessions, and after that match, a match she of course lost because it's her last match, they sold it. This included a vibrator, Her bra and panties, which JBL tried purchasing only for Shad to throw into the crowd, serves the pervert right. It was super humiliating, and I'm not doing it justice. Basically,
I ain't gonna lie though, Lita had them titties, so I ain't gonna hold you.
Let me suck your titties, baby. No.
Ooh, them titties need to be sucked on.
I'm just saying, bro. Back then, I ain't gonna lie. When Lita used to have them dresses with the no bra on, the titties just out there, the yeeties just out there.
Let me suck your titties, baby. No.
they wanted her to be seen as a hoe and that she got what she deserved, but I personally believe that this wasn't the right move, especially for a retiring wrestler. Now, people would have trashed this anyways if it happened before her retirement and all that, but this is her last match, and her mom was at the show, which is crazy to me. I didn't even know this. I mean, look at Edge. He rose to the highest heights because of the Matt Hardy thing, and he was married at the time at that. With Lita, she of course exits the ring in disgrace on her final match, by the way, retirement. She is retiring, yet they did that. The PG era saw WWE chase more of a comedy aspect to their shows. Comedy has and always will be a part of wrestling. The issue is that when WWE went PG, a lot of the comedy, which was already slapstick at times, became more of that. You would be hard pressed to find a difference between a Disney and WWE show sometimes with the way they made their jokes. That's not to say that there weren't good comedy segments, but for every Sheamus and Santino segment, you get Natalya in 2012. Now, Natalya is one of the best in-ring women's wrestlers on the entire roster. The issue with her is that she wasn't charismatic, and if she wasn't wrestling, she was forgettable. While she was dominating the Divas division with Beth Phoenix, they didn't think.
Sounds like today, don't it? Sounds just like today, don't it? Ain't she down in NXT right now trying to train all the youngest that's coming up? Sounds about right.
That was enough, so they gave her a farting gimmick. I'm very embarrassed to talk about this storyline because if I feel cringe and embarrassed watching it, how's the actual performer? Natalya would make segments awkward, Santino would sound like a garbage can got poured on him, and all in all, this was just a storyline for Vince's humor, although it could possibly be more than humor, and I hope for Natalya's sake, that's not the case, but this was a ritual. Nothing was even gained for it too, except embarrassment. I don't know if just saying no works in this regard, but even with this nonsense, Natalya wasn't showcased much afterwards, so all in all, it was nonsense. When it comes to relationship storylines, it is very hard for the WWE to actually pull them off well. For the most part, they tend to fall short, so expecting a
the fact that I wasn't even watching wrestling, but I knew about this Rusev, Bobby Lashley, and Lana situation, bro, that shit was crazy.
Relationship storyline to go down today isn't going to be met with optimism. For some reason, Rusev was constantly involved in some storyline where his wife Lana would have issues with him or try to paint him as somebody who didn't deserve her. It's an odd thing, but WWE's greatest attempt at trying to make him look terrible is the Bobby Lashley storyline. Now, it's one thing to do a storyline where said talent's girl is cheating, but it's another to do it with somebody's actual wife. The issue with this story from the very beginning is that it was outdated trash. I see a storyline that's intended to have cucking attributes, and I automatically know who does this. Paul Heyman and Vince McMahon. This was the Paul Heyman era of Raw, which was trying to be different, and Rusev watched his wife get devoured by Bobby Lashley, an image that's absolutely horrifying for any married man. Now, naturally, Rusev should fight back and give them their comeuppance, but even then, that's the bare minimum. And even then, they didn't do that. They had these odd segments where Lana was believed to have times that were greater than any with Rusev, and for a short time, it felt like Rusev was gonna get over from this. I remember that segment where he got arrested and thinking, maybe this would work out for him, but then they involved Liv Morgan to make it seem like, oh my god, Lana's bi, she's a lesbian. This is a Paul Heyman special, he loves doing that for shock value. Then Rusev lost some matches and got released. The worst part about this is if he declines, he's off TV, but then again, that would serve me well than to be involved in some clown show like this. And to think that the original plan was to have him admit he has ED. ED on top of a cuck storyline. What are you trying to do?
That's Vince McMahon riding for you.
Come here, big fella.
I'm telling you, bro, Vince was on that finest, bro. Vince had to be on that finest, and Paul Heyman had to be on that finest too, because what the fuck is this bullshit?
Come on now, dog. Come on, man.
Kill him? I might as well Big Boss Man at WrestleMania 15 myself at this point if this was my storyline. But yes, Rusev didn't benefit. Bobby Lashley was so destroyed that they looked in the mirror and thought, this guy, we call him the Almighty. We call him the Destroyer, this and that. Why is he with Lana? So they gave him MVP, and things worked out very well for him. Alright, these are wrestling's humiliation rituals. There could be more, but it's like, we kind of know all the major ones. Alright, what do you guys think of these humiliating moments? Please comment down below. That's for this video. Make sure you hit the choke slam on the like button, or perhaps the twist of fate on the subscribe button. Peace.
Alrighty, man. That's just gonna about do it for this one, man. For sure, for sure. Some of these humiliation rituals, the leader one, she kind of deserved it. Big Show, it's a character thing. The rest of these, yeah, Vince was on some bullshit. Vince was definitely on some bullshit for sure. He's always been on bullshit. We just gonna have to, chuck it up to the game, bruh. It is what it is. Cause at the end of the day, Vince McMahon got his comeuppance. That's all that matters. He got his comeuppance. Everybody eating good. Everybody feeling good. Y'all ain't got to deal with Vince and his bullshit no more. Now you got to deal with TKO and Triple H and his bullshit.
Come on now, dog. Come on, man.
But anyways, though, that's just gonna about do it for this one. I'll see y'all in the next video. Till then, this is